Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an actor named KJ featuring 3 Dimensions Apart, titled Pretty Much Dead. And if we switch over to here, we have the track on SoundCloud. If we make the art big, we've got it there. A house on fire, watching some TV, that's dope. And this has been produced by Frevel, apparently. So we're going to listen through this track from start till finish and hear what we think. Let's go. Oh, nice little bit of flanger or phasing on that guitar there. Interesting filter effect we've got going there. It's actually really lush. That bass response there is phenomenal. And a really compelling tone. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt it. I know the theme's pretty dope, but just the sound of those extra melodies alongside the synth melodies alongside the guitars. Pretty much dead. Oh, okay. So it sounds like they're struggling to cope with what's going on. That is some of the most intense vocal modulation I've heard in quite a while. But it's a musical device. I dig it. I don't have an issue with it personally. I like when people are creative about that sort of stuff. Nice little bit of extra double track in there. Just in case anyone's watching this isn't aware of what I mean by that. Double tracking is when you have like a rap verse like this, and then maybe at a key point they'll do extra vocal takes on the sides or something like that to make it sound bigger or more important or more, or at least more noticeable. You know, I think that's well placed here. Let's just talk about this track, because this is a phenomenally interesting one to me. Because this is the conclusion of my review of Pretty Much Dead from KJ, featuring 3 Dimensions Apart, again produced by Frevel, or Frevel. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing that. This is a 1:45 track that's from a couple of musicians who are voicing just how much stuff they've got in their head, how much it's screwing them up, how they're putting their emotions on the shelf, how they're not sure who they can trust. You know, they're just in a really kind of sad state of affairs, to be honest. I will put the art up here. I don't know if you can see that. Usually I put the art up on the top here as well. So if that's not there, you know that I've decided not to put it in. But basically, you know, we have a situation with this track where it's fairly easy to understand what's going on. It is so short. It's so short at 1:45 that it's almost like candy. You know, you eat it and you're just done. You digested it, right? Which ironically is a lot easier to digest than what they're talking about within the track, where they're struggling to cope with what's going on. I really appreciate what's going on with the actual vocal performances themselves. You know, while I'm not going to pretend this is the first time I've heard that vocal modulation within a clean chorus or something like that, I think it just helps to stand out and kind of forces you to pay attention to it. The rapped part in the middle, the verse in the middle, that was some interesting delivery. That was an interesting delivery of that. That primarily because of the fact that there was so much processing on it, not from an actual texture or timbre of his voice perspective, but the way it was kind of floating around and the reverb delays and stuff, and how it went backwards and forwards and the double tracking and all that kind of stuff. There was a lot to take in, and really kind of, you could hear him clearly, which was the trippiest thing, because usually when people put that much stuff on vocals, it tends to get really dicey, especially with hip-hop and rap. Because the issue with hip-hop and rap is that you kind of need to clearly understand what the words are, especially if the flow is quick enough to a point where it can be a detriment if it's oversaturated. But we didn't have this situation here. Quite honestly, I'm really pleased with this. I think that KJ and 3 Dimensions Apart, they've been incredibly considerate of the listener's time. I don't think they needed to have a track that was longer than this. And like, if we're being completely honest with each other, let's not discount the fact that, we have a lot of tracks nowadays that are just simply 2 minutes. It used to be 3.5 minutes for radio play back in like the Stone Ages, I'm sure. But nowadays, you got like musicians releasing stuff that again is around that 2 minute mark, and it's enough to tell a story. You don't need to overdo it. But yeah, the vocal performance was fantastic. I like the texture of the vocals and how they sounded. I think that the melodies chosen by the clean vocalist and then the hook was smart. That was repeated well. They clearly understood what they were doing there. Nice structuring, and it was that kind of it was almost not necessarily melancholic, but it was sort of a bittersweet tonality to it. Like, it wasn't necessarily apathetic, but it was kind of getting close to that. It was more like we just were so done with it. We didn't want to put more effort into. I mean, not that they didn't put effort into the vocal performance. I know they put effort into the vocal performance, but emotionally, they just sounded so done with the situation. But yeah, the structure of it was like intro sort of theme there, then hook, verse, hook, outro, and that's all we needed. We didn't need we didn't need to overdo it. The motif was this kind of interesting, really complex kind of. Actually, I have to admit, I liked the fact that we took our time with that guitar line at the start coming in with the bass and then those little synth parts on the sides. I think it was really, it was carefully developed. You couldn't have known what was going to come with that hook, and I think that's special, that it wasn't too predictable from the offset. But like, I think like aside from the main theme with like the 4 chords, that was just, part of what made it special was not like the actual chord progression itself or the bass line, but it was the layering of different elements. You just had great stacking of like the bass and those little cute synths, and the vocals in the center harmonizing well alongside it, and the guitars flanging and kind of coming backwards and forwards there, careful attention to details. And then you had the drums as well there, they were nice and punchy and sidechained. And all in all, it was, I got love for that. I don't think you needed to do more with it. I think it's still kind of a neutral sort of sentiment, but then we had sort of more of a kind of a balanced emotional response from the vocals, so it made sense for the theme to be balanced. If we were more aggressive with the vocals, we want a more aggressive musical theme, etc., not to a point where it's like too on the nose, but you know what I mean, nuance. But yeah, great. I mean, I don't think that there was anything out of place with the actual performance there. The instruments harmonized well and had similar textures and compatible. The production, recording, mixing, and mastering was sensational. I think that really, we just, the actual quality of the recordings was good. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with both cleans and the verse part. I would have had to have heard them raw in order to really ascertain how they were before they got treated. But like, I think we kind of tiptoed across the bar, and we managed to get to the other side really well in regards to the amount of stuff we had going on with that verse section. Again, it was not a bad vocal performance at all. It's just unusual to have that many different effects on like a rapped part of in the middle of a track like that. But it's fine. It sounded good. I could get the words through clearly. It was fine. The cueing of the track, there were no sort of resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. It was nice and wide in stereo field. Everything sort of had a home and a place to sit, and everything was it sounded big. The actual leveling of the instruments, the mix was fine as well. Part of me wants to say that the rapped vocals in the center were like a little bit quieter than the clean vocals in the hook, but then that can also just be a difference of perceived loudness, primarily due to the fact that we had how do I say it? We just had more going on maybe in that chorus section, so we had to phrase the vocals to kind of balance that out. But then the mastering chain with the limited compression also allowed things to be relatively similar anyways. So, I've got no real complaints about that. All in all, like, considering my understanding is this is like, I can see they've got this one track on Spotify at the moment. It's a great first impression. I think that they've got something special. I hope they continue to nurture it and work at it. And it'll be cool to hear what they do in future. But thank you very much for watching my review of Key J's Pretty Much Dead, featuring 3 Dimensions Apart. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go and show them some love via their various social medias and their SoundCloud page. And stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.